Tucker Carlson begins with discussing the recent selection of J.D. Vance as a VP pick, noting that every bad person he had encountered in Washington was aligned against Vance. He interprets this opposition as a sign that Vance would be harder to manipulate and less enthusiastic about engaging in wars, which upset those seeking to exercise power. Carlson shifts to a deeper perspective, arguing that the current situation is not ultimately political, but rather a spiritual battle. He references the recent assassination attempt against President Trump as evidence of this, stating that there are forces whose only goal is chaos, violence, and destruction. He draws parallels between current events and historical movements like the French Revolution, the Spanish Civil War, and the Russian Revolution, suggesting that these are all manifestations of the same anti-human forces. Carlson highlights the apparent contradiction in movements that are fundamentally against human continuation, such as transhumanism, AI, and the climate cult. He argues that these ideologies are unnatural and supernatural, as they go against the basic evolutionary drive for species survival. Carlson identifies Christians as the group most targeted by these destructive forces throughout history. He notes that in various revolutions and movements over the past 2,000 years, Christians have consistently been the primary enemies. He suggests that this is because Christians pledge a higher loyalty to Jesus, which threatens those in power who view themselves as gods. Discussing the recent assassination attempt on President Trump, Carlson praises Trump's bravery and resilience. He describes how Trump stood up and faced the crowd after being shot, demonstrating strength and leadership. He argues that this act of courage essentially secured Trump's victory in the upcoming election, as it displayed the kind of bravery and leadership that people desire. Carlson emphasizes the critical role of strong leadership in addressing the country's problems. He defines true strength not as abusive or authoritarian behavior, but as calmness and a willingness to serve others. He contrasts this with the actions of weak leaders who resort to authoritarian measures out of fear and insecurity. When asked about advice for people engaging with local school boards and city councils, Carlson stresses the importance of bravery and moral conviction. He encourages people not to allow others to seize the moral high ground unjustly, especially when it comes to issues like the sexualization of children in schools. He advises maintaining calm and assurance in one's beliefs, and being willing to make sacrifices for family and country. Carlson shares his perspective on living a good life, emphasizing the importance of being rooted in physical reality rather than abstract or digital experiences. He advocates for spending time with people in person, valuing the company of animals, and appreciating nature. He expresses concern about the negative impacts of technology on human relationships and happiness, encouraging people to limit their use of devices like smartphones. Looking ahead to a hypothetical scenario of President Trump's farewell address in 2029, Carlson stresses the importance of national unity and a shared American identity. He argues that the country can only hold together if there is a consensus view on what it means to be an American, transcending racial, linguistic, and religious differences. He emphasizes the need for a leader to establish this sense of commonality without necessarily being explicit about it. Carlson notes a significant change in the social climate surrounding support for Trump, observing that the social sanctions against Trump supporters are rapidly disappearing. He cites examples of high-profile individuals, such as Elon Musk, publicly endorsing Trump, which Carlson sees as a signal that it's becoming more acceptable for people to consider supporting Trump. He views this shift as a prerequisite for national healing and unity. Carlson shares his observations on the current state of political discourse in America. He expresses frustration with the tendency of some media outlets and political figures to focus on trivial issues or engage in unproductive arguments. He advocates for a more substantive approach to political discussions, focusing on real issues that affect people's lives rather than getting caught up in rhetorical battles or responding to every provocation from opposing viewpoints. Carlson touches on the importance of faith and values in shaping both personal lives and national identity. While acknowledging his own imperfect relationship with faith, He recognizes the central role that Christianity has played in American culture and history. He suggests that a return to these foundational values could help address some of the moral and social challenges facing the country. Drawing from his extensive experience in media, Carlson offers insights into the current media landscape. He criticizes the tendency of some news outlets to prioritize sensationalism over substance and question the relevance of certain media organizations given their declining viewership. He advocates for a more discerning approach to media consumption, encouraging people to seek out diverse sources of information and think critically about the messages they receive. Carlson also touches on issues of international relations and foreign policy. He expresses concern about the eagerness of some political figures to engage in military conflicts abroad and praised Trump's relative restraint in this area. He suggests that a more cautious and considered approach to foreign interventions would better serve American interests and global stability. Carlson addresses the issue of immigration and its impact on national identity. He expresses concern about the rapid demographic changes in the country and the potential challenges this poses for maintaining a cohesive national identity. While acknowledging the diversity of the American population, he emphasizes the need for a unifying set of values and principles that can transcend ethnic and cultural differences. Carlson offers his thoughts on the future of the conservative movement in America. He suggests that traditional political alignments are becoming less relevant and that new coalitions are forming around shared concerns about issues like economic security, national sovereignty, and cultural values. He emphasizes the importance of the conservative movement remaining true to its principles while also adapting to address the concerns of a changing electorate. Carlson concludes by emphasizing the importance of free speech and the right to support any political candidate without fear of reprisal. He argues that this freedom is essential for maintaining a free society and fostering national unity. He expresses hope that the recent changes in public opinion would lead to a more open and healing political environment. Lastly, he reiterates his optimism about the future of the country despite the challenges it faces. He expresses confidence in the resilience and common sense of the American people and their ability to overcome divisions and work towards a shared vision of national prosperity and unity. He encourages listeners to remain engaged, informed, and committed to the principles they believe in, emphasizing that the future of the country depends on the active participation of its citizens in the democratic process.